Welcome to InformOverload, the show where we take the top trending topics on the internet and then make them more entertaining. I'm your host Johnny Rogers, and to never miss another exciting video, click that subscribe button and ring the bell to join our notification squad. Some writers can craft remarkable stories entirely based in fiction, but some of the best true crime movies are based on real events. We typically enjoy watching these films more because there is a real story behind these larger than life characters that we see in the movie. It's almost as if we're a fly on the wall getting to see what really went down. The allure of knowing that what you're watching is based in reality is just something so enticing that we can't look away. For Hollywood filmmakers, they have really dug into the most shocking events in our history as a human race to put forth the cinematic retelling that's important for our culture to have. With that said, let's begin the top 10 shocking real-life crimes that became movies. In at number 10, Scream. This 1996 American slasher film was directed by the great Wes Craven approximately 6 years following the real-life shocking events the movie is based on. It's said that this movie was what revitalized the horror genre in the 90s, but the writers can't take all of the credit. The movie's antagonist is actually based on a man dubbed the Gainesville Ripper. His name was Danny Harold Rawling, and during the summer of 1990 in Gainesville, Florida, Danny took the lives of 5 students. The majority of the film follows teens being watched by this masked killer while at home, which is what triggers paranoia for people that have watched this movie. In real life, Danny would actually break into several local homes, then bind these teens with tape before brutally killing them. His disturbing idiosyncratic approach to murder shook the community and led to many students dropping out of nearby schools as panic ensued. In at number 9, Bonnie and Clyde. The 1967 film titled Bonnie and Clyde was essentially a biographical crime film that told the story of this nefarious couple from their perspective. While they may lend some feelings of sympathy, it's difficult to look past the atrocities that these two actually committed. The film did get one thing right with their ending, which is still considered to be one of the bloodiest death scenes in cinematic history. It's a simplified version of Bonnie and Clyde and their gang that wreaked havoc on small shop owners, gas stations, and a string of robberies. They were also found guilty of killing a total of 9 police officers as well as multiple civilians. The film, however, portrayed these shocking crimes in a very comedic manner that aroused a ton of controversy. The filmmakers were just glorifying murderers. In at number 8, Bully. This 2001 American crime film directed by Larry Clark follows a group of teens living in South Florida that plot the murder of a friend who they consider to be the biggest bully in their group. The movie drew its inspiration though from the real-life murder of Bobby Kent in 1993. Throughout the film and in real life, Bobby's friends had confessed to each other that Kent was being very abusive towards them. Ultimately, they arrived at the odd conclusion that he had to be eliminated. The group was referred to as the Broward County 7, and together they conspired a way to lure their bully into a car where one of them was planning on killing him with their mother's pistol. They realized soon that they couldn't go through with it, but still wanted him gone from their lives. Instead, they hired a hitman to help them carry out this shocking crime that they too participated in later on. In at number 7, Devil's Knot. The 2013 American biographical crime drama film was actually first based on the Mara Leveret book with the same name. Both are based on the real-life shocking story of 3 children who were murdered and the teens that were convicted. They were known as the West Memphis 3. Damien Eccles was sentenced to death, Jesse Misskelley Jr. and Jason Baldwin though would receive life in prison. It was believed that these juvenile delinquents murdered these innocent children as part of some sort of satanic ritual. The horrific crimes even led to what was called the Satanic Panic that spread across the United States and many parts of the world by the late 90s. In at number 6, Ted Bundy. In the most recent Netflix release called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, we saw the dramatic retelling of the Ted Bundy murders and trial. There have actually been 6 films though based on Ted Bundy's murderous rampage and plea of innocence. There was Bundy, an American Icon, The Capture of the Green River Killer, The Deliberate Stranger, The Riverman, and one simply titled Ted Bundy. One may think that this is too many movies idolizing a killer, but in reality it's important to chronicle that no matter how charming someone may seem, they could also be hiding a demon like Ted Bundy was. Beyond killing at least 30 women, Bundy was also a master manipulator that through some sort of psychopathic seduction convinced his girlfriend that he was innocent the whole time. In at number 5, Dahmer. Directed by David Jacobson and starring Jeremy Renner, the film is a biographical true crime horror film about the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, a man that was responsible for the bizarre and horrendous murders of 17 men. Dahmer would meet men in gay bars and after bringing them home would drug his victims before killing and dismembering them. Dahmer was a uniquely disturbed individual that would often keep things like his victims' skulls as some sort of weird trophy for his trouble. Dahmer wasn't even arrested until 1991 when one of his victims named Tracy Edwards managed to escape and lead the police back to his apartment. Inside they discovered that Dahmer was very meticulous with his recordings of each murder, even taking photos of the deceased bodies. Yuck. In at number 4, Zodiac. This 2007 mystery thriller film, directed by David Fincher, and largely followed police investigators as they scrambled to find the Zodiac killer before he struck again. Sounds like a classic movie trope, but in reality all of this actually played out. There was indeed a man that called himself the Zodiac killer that spent most of his time sending encrypted letters to the San Francisco Chronicle threatening to kill more people unless his message was decoded. To this day, the real killer was never found, and it's believed that between the 1960s to late 1970s, he was able to get away with up to 37 murders. In at number 3, the Teacup Poisoner. I'll never understand why filmmakers feel the need to turn horrific crimes into a dark comedy, but that's what they did when telling the story of Graham Young, the Teacup murderer. Following the notorious killer's life since early childhood, they showed that Graham had a fascination with chemistry and dreamt of poisoning people. As many people as possible, really. Graham's first victims were his own family, and after poisoning them without killing them, he was sent to Broadmoor Hospital. Then, as soon as he was released in 1971, he would go on to poison 7 more people, killing 2 of them. As the name would suggest, he would do this via serving cups of tea to his victims. In at number 2, the Amityville Horror. This is yet again another film that was first based on a book by the same name. The 1979 horror film chronicles the alleged experiences of the Lutz family upon buying a home that a mass murder was committed in the previous year. That last piece of detail, though, is based on the real life events. The killer's name was Ronald DeFeo Jr., a 23-year-old man from Amityville, Long Island. It's a very mysterious case still to this day. After Ronald had killed 6 members of his family, he went to a bar declaring that he needed help because someone had shot his parents. Each of the victims were found lying face down in their beds with apparent gunshot wounds that led to their deaths. Originally, his story was that a mobster hitman had killed them, but as time went on, his story began to have too many inconsistencies, which eventually led investigators back to Ronald as their prime suspect. Last but not least, at our number 1 spot, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. This 1986 psychological horror film is about the random crime spree committed by a serial killer who had been acting with absolute impunity. This killer was Henry Lee Lucas, and throughout the 60s and 70s, he would go on to commit a number of murders, and by the early 80s, we learned just how many. Henry was convicted of 11 homicides, but he would also claim to have killed upwards of 3,000 people. However, after some investigation, it was found that Lucas had been kind of stretching the truth on that last part just a little bit. The film is primarily based though on Henry's confessions and fantasies though, instead of just straight facts. Now let's take some time to check out your comments from the video titled Top 10 Insane Celebrity 10-Year Challenges. Charlie L says, "It's great to see you back, Johnny. You're a huge breath of fresh air." Oh, thanks, Charlie. Happy to be back. Amora Knight says, "Pharrell is 46? I know, right? Like, he's definitely a vampire this whole time, for sure." Anna Grace Play says, "I don't know what to say, so hello." Hello. Chrissy Ma says, "Why doesn't Johnny read out the comments? I like the comments." Have no fear, I'm bringing them back. Batman Fan Forever 08 says, "Has sure his her has, Johnny 2019. That sounds like something I would say, for sure. And that has been the top 10 shocking real life crimes that became movies. Thank you for watching InformOverload, and if you enjoyed this video, then show some love here by tapping that like and subscribe button. Plus, if you find any news stories that are exciting and you want us to cover them, make sure you send the link in a DM to our Instagram page at InformOverload, and if we like it, you may just see your story on our channel. Plus, leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on this list, and for more videos like this one, just click that playlist on the screen. From my own, my name is Johnny Rogers, and until next time, take care. Was actually first based on the Mara Lever. Was actually first based on the Mara Leverett book with Dahmer was a uniquely disturbed Dahmer was a uniquely disturbed individual that would often keep these things like the victim's skull. Dahmer was a uniquely disturbed individual that would often keep things like his victim's skull.